Well, hello there again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is DB333. Welcome, Twitch chat. Welcome everyone who's watching right now. Tetrazar hours, exactly, Turtle, you got it. Smith, hell yeah. Onwards for greatness, Razar Chadmere, you got it. Potato M. How are you all doing? How are y'all today? You hanging in there? I was psyched for Vicky too, but I should know not to be that hopeful. Yeah, I suck at Vicky too. That's not going to be happening really anytime soon. I thought about it, but I don't think that's in the cards. You guys are, it sounds like you got, it's doing good. That's good to hear. Well, what do we want to do here? Let's do industry, the practical industrial administrations. Beautiful. Did I set my timer? I did not set my timer, so I'll cut it down a minute. That's the point. Well, yeah, it might be fun to see me suck at Vicky. Well, let's see, where are we at? We have some moderate support for the Tsar, very nice. And our economic strength is low. One can never rest easy in the Russian anarchy. This was as true for the individual as it was for the state, and nowhere was this more apparent than on Vyatka's eastern border. Past a series of bunkers and trenches lie the vile fief of the Aryan Brotherhood. They had grown bolder lately, and though their advance had been checked every time, there were inevitably casualties. So it was that the Tsar and his entourage journeyed to visit the men that guarded the empire from unspeakable horror. Vladimir's advisors had protested his choice of his front. It was dangerous, they warned. They had protested it even more at his choice of escort for the event. They did not think Stepan Novikov was fit to protect him. There were many younger and stronger men that would gladly give their lives for him, but Vladimir did not need the vigor or youth at the border. He needed a watchful eye and a careful ear. Stepan had both. The outpost was ready for his arrival. Vyatka's flag flew proudly outside the barracks, and at its foot 200 soldiers stood at attention, the noble defenders that had repelled an Aryan raid only 2 days earlier. The Tsar walked past them one by one, offering a warm smile or a firm hand on the shoulder. It was a solemn affair nonetheless. He did not doubt that each of these men there had lost a friend to the front. As he continued down the line, he saw a soldier reaching into his pocket. A gift? Then Vladimir was on the ground. A series of pops, screaming. He tried to stand blood, so much blood. What, was it his own? No, the gunman was wrestled to the ground. A dozen men surrounded the Tsar, but not Stepan. Where was Stepan? Oh no. In that moment, Vladimir knew whose blood stained his clothes. A lifeguard's final sacrifice. Oh no. No! Fuck. We lose the one manpower, too. Oh, that is horrible. God damn it. No one's actually good at Victor 2. It's all about faking it. You're not wrong. F, yeah, let's get some F's in chat for our dear lifeguard who has departed us. We all know it's way more fun to see you struggle like Gup and Millionaire. That was not fun to see Gup struggle on Millionaire. It was kind of cathartic. Enjoyable to a degree. Fun. Okay, yeah, it was kind of fun to see him suffer. You're not wrong there. And I can shit talk him because he never watches my streams or my VODs. So, the start of recovery. Now we can get working on some of these other guys. What do we want? Ooh, economic strength and poverty. Let's get working on this to get our poverty down. So we'll have to start with finding new markets. Optimizations have made to the Vyatka distilleries in recent times have resulted in even greater production than before. We simply cannot sell it all on either the domestic or local foreign markets without an unacceptable reduction in price. The solution, therefore, must lie further afield. Brittany, the Tsar's former home, has in recent years embraced an identity as a nexus of legal and extra-legal trade, and this offers an opportunity. Although sales likely won't reach the same levels as in Russia, They will act to reduce our vast stockpiles, protect our prices, and bring in hard currency besides. There we go. That makes sense. Desperate times, desperate measures. That whole spiel. Whew. A rough way to start the stream. We lost the man, Stepan. It's a shame, it really is, but we will avenge him. Anyway, let's go ahead. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Front line. There we go. As it had become distressingly common, Tsar Vladimir woke to a terrible pounding on his skull. Reaching up over to the bottle of painkillers, his use of which had become all too regular, he swallowed one and felt the pain subside. For now. Everything seemed to cause migraines these days. Council meetings that ended in shouting matches between his advisors, reports of military discontent and confusion, even perhaps the Tsar thought punishment from God for his many sins. He wasn't even free from them while sleeping anymore. When he had first marched into Vyatka all those years ago, he could not have imagined that things would be this way. He had grown on the stories about the wonders of the monarchy and the power of the Tsar. He had known them to be lies. Now, his government was divided, his army was paralyzed, and his people were deprived, and very often he felt as if he had no power at all, an observer along for the ride. But those stories of glory and power had always been accompanied by very serious talks of duty. He had a duty to his people and to Russia, and those simply could not be abandoned, no matter how much he sometimes wanted to leave and return to Brittany or somewhere farther afield. He was the Tsar, and he had his duty, which for now at least involved rousing from bed and preparing for the day. A noble burden indeed. I just noticed that. I kind of noticed the number went up. We just got 2,000 manpower out of nowhere. Well, we could rally some new recruits. Get another 1,000. There we go. Get another 1,000 out of that. Find new markets. Next, I think we'll go ahead and go with the Rolling on the River. I wonder if any of that 2K happened to be blonde with blue eyes. That's what I'm wondering too, honestly. That's a good question there. River transport has long been a mainstay of Russian commerce and trade. Transport along them is often much faster than moving over land. This is doubly so in current times, given the state of the Russian infrastructure. Though we no longer control great rivers such as the Dnieper, the Don, or the Volga, we do control the Vyatka River, and it connects to a vast network of other rivers along western Russia. By reopening the city's wharves and promoting the construction of river barges and other trade craft, we can compensate for our infrastructure and increase trade both internally and externally. Perhaps in time, Vyatka will itself become a hub for such activity. You can hope. 2,000 drunk peasants wandered to town looking for more of Tsar's vodka and woke up recruits from the Tsar's army. I mean, it does sound like something that would happen in Russia, I suppose. I can see it. Honestly. You can scavenge for loot. Loot. What do we need to get working on? Equipment and research facilities. Not too bad. Oh dear. Unfortunately, it seems the Bretons were not wise enough to accept our more than generous offer. Oh no. Our agents in Kostroma have reported back that their mutually beneficial offer has been politely turned down even after substantial concessions were made on our part. Cities cited were the risk of transporting the vodka across Europe and our questionable ability to meet demand. This is a grave mistake on Brittany's part, of course, but it seems they made up their mind. It seems, therefore, that our distillery will have to remain focused on domestic production. Overall, this has been a major blow to our efforts to obtain foreign currency, and for the foreseeable future, it seems we will have to continue relying on that which we receive from our emigres abroad. Nonetheless, our distillery is still proving to be a worthwhile investment, and all our hopes is not lost for trading our vodka abroad. Several of our closer neighbors could still prove to be interested in acquiring more alcoholic beverages, and as our power grows, we could easily end up doing ourselves what we have had to rely on the rents for as present. Perhaps it is better to avoid entanglements with the black market, after all, maybe. But that hit to political power kind of sucks. Who can we raid? St. George? We can raid St. George. Let's see. Edit mode. Fuck. Why am I fucking up these simple buttons? Edit mode. There we are. Alternative church suggested that 2K men are spouting very strong Burgundian accents and struggle to keep their right arm down by their side when someone yells hail. Probably, yeah. I see that being pretty probable, honestly. Okay, so our economic strength is low, which feels bad. Get some better research speed going. Someone else they're already being raided, it seems. So let's double down. They refuse tribute. Well, sucks you are already being raided. Oh. For the first time in decades, the river ports of Vyatka bustle with trade. Stevedores move cargo, exchange the crude jokes of rough men. Pursuers survey along the quays, checking and rechecking manifest. Officials do the same, checking for smugglers and ensuring proper taxation is levied. All around them, the engine of commerce hums. From the imperial barge, modest as it may be, Tsar Vladimir looked on, watching as his people worked contentedly, and allowing himself to feel accomplished at having enabled them, even as yet another migraine throbs at his temple. So focused, the Tsar did not notice his guest, a merchant captain, approach him. Majesty, are you alright? Vladimir waved him away. I'm fine. Thank you. What was it you were saying earlier, Captain? Pirates, Majesty, came the captain's reply. It's known that these are pirates' rivers downstream, along the major riverine trade routes. Both I and the other merchants have requested more guard detachments, seconded from the imperial armies. The Tsar hid his dismay, strong enough to break through even the intense discomfort of the migraine. Securing such attachments would require forcing a compromise between Gould, Shulgin, and Solzhenitsyn. As the said continued to throb, however, he responded, "You shall have them. Gibloot, that's what I'm saying. Give it up, guys." Do you really want to waste your manpower? They want to waste their manpower. Ooh! The raiders made their approach to the Imperial barge in the dead of night, with faces blackened and small boats riding low in the water. Avoiding the barge lights, they aligned themselves with it, threw hooks up and over its side with the practiced ease of men who had performed the action dozens times before. This time, however, things would be different. On the deck, one of the additional guards assigned by the Tsar heard a noise, and investigating more closely, saw the hooks. Shouting in alarm, he kicked the hook away and began firing into the darkness, soon joined by both the barge's crew as well as other guards. When everything had calmed down and the sun began to rise, the guards found the pirates had retreated without casualty. But, at least for once, they had been denied their prize, and word would spread that the Tsar's soldiers now protected the rivercraft. Another victory for the Tsar. Popular support goes up, political power, and stability. Booyah. I'd say that's worth the investment, more or less. The establishment of a trade connections with the Bretons has proven very beneficial, allowing us an outlet for the excess production of both alcohol as well as other goods, but Brittany is far away, and transporting goods there is a risk is itself a risk. We need somewhere closer, Kostroma, as a free city situated on the border of the German Spear, is perfectly situated. The porous border allows for easy transport of goods into the Reich, and while the Germans are not our friends any longer, their money's just as good as anyone else's. We will take it, until the Empire is strong enough to not need it. You demanded the Order of St. George to give you loot. They told you that you need Jesus instead. Fuck the Jesus, I need money! Give me your ducats, boys! Or get out of my way. I'll take the loot and the Jesus, okay? Okay, what can we go ahead and invest in? We need equipment, I believe. So let's up our equipment. Raid successful. Excellent. Next, let's go ahead and get a new hub of trade. Increase our economic strength by some amount, and our poverty rate is going to improve. Beautiful. Our efforts to encourage trade have proven wildly successful with the identification and prioritization of key trade goods, development of international connections, and the promotion of rapid and efficient arteries of trade among the Russian waterways. Vyatka has exploded in activity. The city's wharves are bustling, merchants are moving ever larger, cargoes, and the revenue increases month over month. However, the Tsar and those who advise him are always looking forward. A plan to establish Vyatka as a central trade hub for Western Russia has been put forward and accepted. Infrastructure will be vastly expanded, allowing for consequent expansions in trade and other forms of commerce, and ensuring a dominant future position for Vyatka as a city, and contributing to a strong financial basis for campaigns to come. Not a bad idea at all. I mean, that's helping. Our poverty rate is actually going up pretty well. You usually don't see any improvement at the regional stage at all, and yet here we are. And it's about to go up again. Slowly, but still. We got another gun. We're going to need support equipment. Well, we will build some support equipment. How about that? Beautiful. Guyana's gone ahead and been conquered. Indonesia calls. Italy's won the Italo-Turkish War. Oh, shout out to the Italian TNO Discord for winning over there and beating the Turkish TNO server. It's a fun little competition. New hub of trade. There we are. Next, let's go ahead and go with... Could get working on down some of this. Great support. The fall of the old empire resulted in the exile of hundreds of thousands of Russia's best and brightest to all corners of the world. Many of them took their riches along, and many others still have found wealth and success in their new homes. But they have not forgotten their old one. The Tsar possesses contacts from his time spent living in Brittany, and through them he would be able to establish contact with the most prominent of their number. Many of them desire to once again see the imperial eagle fly above a united Russia, and would be willing to provide both financial and political support. Let's go for it. Take a sip of water. Hydrating. Our economic strength is not bad. And our popularity is pretty good. Could be better, of course, but could be worse. Political power game is quite nice. Might go ahead and speak on the radio coming up. go ahead. Yeah, let's speak on the radio. Ooh. Missed an opportunity to scavenge for loot, but we'll get that opportunity back now. But right now, boys, Mother Russia's bleeding. Russia's broken. From the European territories to the Far East, its people cower in fear of bandits, raiders, and the warlords of petty fiefdoms. That our once great nation is reduced to this is a tragedy beyond measure. But is not yet beyond hope. Russia is no stranger to suffering or to starting over. But it needs leadership, strong and noble, in order to do it. And we will provide it. Just as Peter the Great elevated Russia to its deserved position as a world power, so too will Tsar Vladimir. He will make it clear that order, strength, prosperity, and faith will be returned to our country, whatever the cost. We will reclaim our birthright. There we go. Do horizontal. They're increasing the budget. Yeah, the conservative, right. Bormann has won. Brittany went ahead and rejected us, which feels kind of bad, but what are you going to do? Oh, Vologda versus Kostroma. We'll see what ends up happening there. The soldiers had entered the village 3 days ago, claiming to serve as Tsar. He wasn't quite sure what it meant. The communists had shot the last Tsar decades ago, but they not tried to steal anything. Moreover, they promised protection from the bandits who had plagued the settlements for years. All they had asked for in return was accommodation. The man had let one of them stay in his house, in the room of his late wife. Every morning they would share a meal before the soldier joined his compatriots on patrol, and when he returned, they would share another. For 2 weeks, this ritual repeated, and he had even asked the soldier, to a shrug and reply, why he was even here at all. But eventually that question was answered. Armed men under a strange banner were spotted nearby, and the soldier quickly manned the positions they had been preparing for weeks. When the attackers, black-clad men with hateful fanaticism in their eyes, arrived, they charged headlong into the village, and they were cut down where they stood. Afterwards, the soldiers assembled for a head count, and all were present, except one. A search quickly found him lying behind an earthwork, shot through the chest, with blank eyes staring up at the sky. The man recognized the soldier from their shared meals, but hid his emotion with the ease of one long practiced in doing so. The next morning, he volunteered to dig the soldier's grave, and fashioned a rough cross to mark it. Every victory has its price. Okay, 15 political power, that makes sense. Losing soldiers. Political power. Let's get the White Army traditions going. That looks great, honestly. Wow. Long ago, the Russian army, well-trained, highly disciplined, and lavishly equipped, was a feared instrument of war. Then the rot set in. By 1917, it had progressed so far that not even the then Tsar's personal intervention could save it. And its deficiencies were laid bare in its crushing defeat by the communist revolutionaries, but the earlier legacy still remains. We will reinstate the practices that made the imperial armies great once upon a time, and put in the strength stringent regulations to ensure that the practices that led to the failure are not repeated. We will continue the legacy of the Russian army of old, and under that banner our brave soldiers will march forward and reclaim the motherland for themselves, their state, and their Tsar. Oh, well. About to find out whether a man falls faster or his shares do. The men stood by the sill, calmly, and waited their turn to jump. It looks like the men. I'm gonna go with the men. You know, that's what happens when everyone buys GameStop, I guess. Japan had to go ahead and short it, I guess. And that's... Okay, research facilities. Prepare another raid against St. George. Just bully the crap out of them. Our puppet's already raiding them. Oh, God. German Madagascar has fallen. Anything we can use to... We have high support right now, which is very nice. Raid successful. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and... Let's seize some illegal convoys. The political chaos of the Republic of Komi has led to an explosion of smuggling activity along our borders with it. Here, hundreds of merchants flagrantly flout the Principality's laws, depriving our state of taxation and legitimate trade. This time, the time has come to respond. Decisively, we will increase our military and police presence along the border, arresting known dealers, inspecting all passing cargoes, and raiding discovered hideouts. Seized goods will either be sold or incorporated into their stockpiles as necessary. In addition, and once the smugglers are dispersed, we will then encourage and promote legitimate commerce and replacement, and thereby turn a weakness into a strength. There we go. The drug-addicted Tsar is launching multiple raids into the Order of St. George. Who needs the Antichrist when you are one now? Fuck. Food from Hungary. Guess we're not going hungry tonight, boys. Woo! Army group, let's get Smyslovsky back. And we need our boy. Where's our boy? Rumyanstev, there he is. Beautiful. That 5 attack is huge. Get some extra stability, but we have stability right now. It's war support we could use. The Aryan Brotherhood, huh? Oh, those fucking Nazi LARPers think that they scare me. That's cute. Yeah, we will not back down so easily. We did not back down so easily. There we go. Got the rifles. We could invest in infrastructure, popular support. Let's liquidate state assets. Oh, Komi wants a piece of us now. Well, if you want it, come and take it. I think God's trying to send us a message, and that message is stop taking our fucking stop raiding our fucking guys. And the answer is no. Boris Skasorev, the Tsar's official representative in Berezhniki, looked out the window of his office and watched as the soldiers of Governor Alexander Kazanbek approached at speed. It had been long feared one day the independent-minded Kazanbek would stop listening, answering, and sending resources to the central government in Vyatka, and that day has now come. The Okhrana's report and warning of Kazanbek's imminent display of disloyalty had arrived by special message less than an hour ago. Far too late to do anything good, but just long enough to allow him to burn everything of value. He sighed. Kazanbek had never been an agreeable choice as governor. His belief in the syncretism of monarchist ideals with communist influences was not only laughable, but also just a starting point from which today's ending was inevitable. He had just hoped that the Tsar would be able to reclaim the rogue territory before the religious fanatics to the north or the ideological fanatics to the south moved to claim it. Turning away from the soldiers, Skosarev tossed one last document into the fire beside him, hefted his pack, and checked his rifle by the door. He might not have wanted to see this day, but he had planned for it. A route through the forest had been scouted, and a boat by the river concealed. If he was lucky, he would reach the border with Vyatka shortly, and if he was luckier, he would be permitted to accompany the army on its return to Berezhniki. Skosarev smiled at the thought. He wanted to be there when Kazanbek was hanged. One does not forgive treason. So we lose the rights to resources in Berezhniki, and there, the puppet over it. First he sees Comey's illegal convoys when he beat their ass in battle. Yeah, Berezhniki focus tree, and that's what I'm saying. What do we want to do? Let's do... We could use war support. Let's go after this bureaucracy first, though. After the fall of the old empire was accelerated by poor administrative capability, which then allowed for both economic malaise and communist extremism to spread. Apart from Tsar himself, we are seeing this in the Principality, which many of the temporary government organs established years ago still in operation. We must learn from the past and not allow it to be repeated. Consequently, we will act decisively to untangle this web, clearing out redundant offices, formalizing needed government services, and dispatching with wasteful excess. In a way, we will strengthen our control over both our current and future territory. There we go. It's treason that intensifies. Yeah. Let's see. Remian Stev. I think of I know there's a Pacifica meme. There's also a Panzer meme after they both left. Because they kept saying that Berezhniki's going to get cut eventually. And people said, you know, it's like a picture of a profile picture saying, like, Berezhniki needs to go. And it's Kazanbek saying, who needs to go? And it's a resignation letter, and it's, then there's the edited picture of him smiling. I think that might be a sign that Berezhniki not only needs to stay, but needs its focus tree. I'm just going to throw that out there. Despite the power of the position and the critical role it plays in state security, it's a near universal truth that border guards are both underpaid and often extremely bored. But there was one benefit position, one that would be so loudly denied were any officers within earshot. Every so often, at certain crossings known to be amenable, and at times when certain officers were known to be on duty and others known not to be, specific trucks would approach. Pulling up to the gate, the driver would smile at the guards, and one handing over his identification manifest would also include an envelope. The guards would then inspect the papers and manifest and return them, the envelope having somewhat disappeared. They would then open the gate, and the truck would drive through, it being trusted that the goods on the manifest were in fact the goods in the truck. Yes, being a border guard meant consigning oneself to low pay and mind-numbing periods of inactivity, but the value of that one benefit could compensate indeed. Alright, let's go ahead and scavenge for some more loot. How's our agriculture coming along? Not well. Lieutenant Cherdenko held the phone to his ear for the third time, waiting impatiently for his commander to answer. After what felt like hours, he finally held a voice. Gavrilov speaking. Serge Cherdenko, as per your request, I've been trying to secure those rifles we purchased last week. I'm sorry to report, sir, that it's going to take a while before they make it to the men. Cherdenko tried his best to mask his frustration. I don't understand, Lieutenant. The guns are in the warehouse. All you needed to do was sign for them and be on your way. So what's the delay? Should I unplug my headset by accident? These delays, sir, is that nobody seems to have the authority to actually release the rifles to me. Every agency sends me to another bureau, and every bureau sends me to another department, and all this seems to require proof from one another. I've never seen so much damn red tape, sir. Over the telephone, Cherdenko heard a grunt. Calm down, son. I understand your frustration, but this is just how things work around here. I'll make some calls, but you'll just have to go through the process until we get our guns. Understand? Yes, sir. I will. As Gavrilov hung up, Cherdenko sighed again. His work had only just begun. God, what a mess. Let's go ahead and work with the many shades of monarchism. Monarchism is not an ideology in itself. And as such, it tends to attract a coalition of those of many different political persuasions. A principality is no different. We'll all agree that Tsar Vladimir is the rightful ruler of all of Russia. They disagree on how his rule should be expressed. Absolutists believe that he should be unrestricted, while constitutionalists believe that there should be checks to his authority. Fascists, socialists, and others routinely present their own views. All of these are forms of monarchy, and a great deal more are regularly advocated for, but none can say which will eventually emerge to dominate the others. None yet. None yet. Vacuum tube computing. Oh, Bear's Nikki! That's cute! Yeah, we will not back down so easily. And neither will they, evidently. Man. CSR versus the Black Army. Interesting. Let's get that research time down. Humanist Tomsk. Uh-oh, we got Kaya. First they betray you, now they raid you. Exactly. Yeah. Man. They're doing the election stuff. Let's see what happens with Comey. How many coups do you guys think Comey's gonna have? I'm curious myself. First, let's utilize Vyatka. Yeah, they can't even raid me properly. What the fuck? Despite the Tsar's righteous rule, there are those who would see him shackled, deposed, or worse. Every society has its dissidents, and they must be watched. Vyatka, the Tsar's secret police, was created to monitor and curtail the actions of those that wished the destruction of Russia. Though they failed in their mission, the lessons learned throughout that failure must not have been forgotten. To combat these dissidents, Vyatka will be recreated, and the issue that led to their previous failure will be corrected. Once again, they will watch over and guard our Tsar, our state, and our way of life. In doing so, ensures the stability of our principality, and one day, our empire. We get a spy master. We get an intelligence agency. Can meet with people. And that extra war support sounds pretty good. We'll go with that. And, yeah. Hang in there, and then we'll spend the salutes. Probably farms. Ooh. Novosibirsk is splitting Tomsk in half right now. With the Siberian Black Army. Doesn't look good for Tomsk, not gonna lie. Agricultural methods. Betting on 2 coups, that's probably a safe bet. Let's see, there's no social democracy support. Absolutely none. So yeah, I'm not too optimistic of that. Dude, even Tabby has a little bit of support right now. Fuck. It was a foggy morning in the lands of Vyatka when Alexander arrived in the village. His first stop was the doctor's house. When he had last been in the area, he had taken hits while hunting a raiding band from the Aryan Brotherhood. The doctor had saved his life after he stumbled into town. The door opened before he made it there, and he almost bumped right into the man. He recognized Alexander right away, and was surprised when he placed a bag into his hands with a quiet thank you. Before the doctor was able to say anything, he was already down the street and nearing his true goal. With a feeling of trepidation, he knocked on Sophia's door and waited patiently for heard to answer. From within, he heard the sound of muffled cursing before the door was pulled open. She was deceived in the extreme, as she always was in the mornings, and not register who was at the door for a long moment. "Hello, Sophia. It's been far too long," he said. At once her eyes opened wide as she let out a gasp. Suddenly, he was pulled into a tight hug, his back popping as she gripped him like a lifeline. He was quick to return the hug, though not nearly as tightly, and kissed her on top of the head. "It's good to see you again, Sophia." Without preamble, she pulled him into the house and into a deep kiss before dragging him into the kitchen. As he watched her dart around the kitchen and heard her voice chatter away about the news of Vyatka, he felt a smile stretch across his face. He was almost surprised when he felt a sense of true happiness flow into him for the first time in years. That night with Sophia in his arms, he slept soundly for the first time since the West Russian War. The nightmares refused to come, and he felt closer to peace. Oh, how sweet. Perhaps happiness was attainable. Perhaps. This is Gino, so I wouldn't get too excited quite yet. Oh! It's time to raid St. George, boys. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? God, I almost feel bad for them. This is probably the most efficient way to get loot in West Russia. We're the priests getting the loot. Don't they collect money, like, at the end of church? I forget if the Orthodox Church does that, but I'm sure we're just taking the church's money who took it from the peasants. So we're taking it from the people of Russia in a removed sense, but we have a layer division that makes it feel less shitty. That's my understanding of it. Anyway, let's get the great game going. Influence peddling is a component of any government, and the Tsar's administration is no exception. On a daily basis, deals are made and broken, favors are traded, and information is exchanged amongst the many functionaries of our state. But there is a limit, and the degrees of these exchanges have recently threatened to divide the government to an unacceptable degree. The Tsar is not blind to this, and he knows that such efforts distract from any eventual efforts to reunify the nation. But he also knows that to act to reduce it could engender the opposite effect. Prudence is required. He will therefore demonstrate his public displeasure at such actions, weakening the position of those engaging in them without provoking conflict. But he will not forget, and when the state is more secure, there will be a reckoning. Yeah, just one of these days. What do you want to get working on? Probably new generation of AKs. It's probably a good time to get working on those. Oh, they just paid the money. Thank fuck. Just made it easy for us. The building was nondescript, and the office within it unadorned. The man who stood in the doorway was unremarkable. The desk that he looked at was unembellished, a plain wooden block with a faded mat on top, but there was one element atop it that kept his attention. A small bronze plaque engraved with a name, Boris Smyslovsky. To anyone else who was building this office would have been unacceptable, but to Smyslovsky, the newly appointed head of the Tsar's Okhrana, was perfect. It was a culmination of decades of work, 2 wars, endless political machinations, and a most regrettable collaboration with the Germans besides. But all of that was in the past, and he only had eyes for the future. Moving to sit behind the desk, he began picturing the items that would soon cross it. Maps, lists, numbers, and more. Despite the mundane appearance of buildings, desk, and man, all 3 would soon become involved in some of the most momentous work in all of Russia. At that thought, Smilovsky cracked a rare smile. Oh yes, he was going to love being the head of the Okhrana. Suspect number 1, Fyodor Vasilyev. So this is going to kick off a fun little event chain, which I think I remember how to do. We can get some more manpower. Excellent. I'm wondering, do we have enough to train up a normal division? Just barely, yeah. That's not bad. Well, let's get working on it.